Another one. Another one. Touchdown Jags! Ball game!
Another Jags podcast.
Welcome everyone to another Jags podcast, episode 44. We are here for you, Jag fans. We are here for you. We have with us tonight Joey, Jason, and myself. We're going to get into all things Jaguars as they sit now 3-7, dead last in the division. Playoffs are a pipe dream at this point. Still mathematically a possibility, but if we're being realistic, it's over. And we're going to get to all things Jaguars in just a second. But before we do, we want to remind you that we are on Twitter at Another Jags Pod. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at Another Jags Podcast, or go to our website, anotherjagspodcast.com, and that will take you to all of those places. Gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss tonight. What we're really going to do is get to the Twitter questions. We're going to let the fans have the stage tonight, have the mic. But before we do, apparently, Joey, you have something you want to say. Before we get to anything else, any of the Twitter questions, any of our thoughts on the state of the Jaguars, their loss against the Steelers, everything that lie ahead, you said you have something that you want to say. So, Joey, the floor is yours.
I appreciate that. I just want to set the record straight before Jason bashing me comes, possibly James, however the conversation goes. Jalen Ramsey had one of the best defensive performances ever for a Jaguar in that game. He played absolutely unbelievable, and I just want to get that out there because it's going to happen later on. You guys are going to be against me on it, but I just want to say that before we start anything.
Well, okay. Fair enough. And you're right. It was a dominant performance on his part. But just to further clarify, what if you haven't listened to one of our episodes before, Joey's saying that because he's not the biggest Jalen Ramsey fan, and he has been outspoken about that. Not over the top, but just sharing his opinion. But Joey, let me ask you straight up. Do you think the Jaguars should trade Jalen Ramsey? Because there's been talk of that.
No, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous unless we could trade him for a franchise quarterback and possibly a draft pick. Outside of that, absolutely not. He's not a Fowler.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that as well, because there are people out there that think we should trade him. And I'm not going to get into it now. It might come up later, but I'm kind of calm right now, and it's the start of the show. I don't want to get the blood boiling right off the bat. So let's go straight to the Twitter questions. Jason, you said we have some responses on Twitter, so I'm going to let you kind of be the MC tonight in terms of the questions.
Oh.
Are you up to the task?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, why not? The Magic are doing good.
Things are going well. Besides the Jags, things are going well.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to go right off the rip with David Brown, and he's at David_Brown. He gets straight to the point. He says, who's the GM, head coach, and quarterback in 2019?
I'll go first. I think the head coach is up in the air. I think it could be Marrone. That has everything to do with who the GM is going to be. And I don't know enough about executives in the NFL to name drop anybody for that position. But I sure know it's not going to be Dave Caldwell, or it had better not be. If it is, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself if Dave Caldwell is still the general manager in the new football season, the 2019 football season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, I could go off. I'm surprised right now. I think it's because I'm really tired because it's after 9:00. But I am so ready for the Jaguars to move on from Dave Caldwell as a GM. It's ridiculous. He's done hardly anything right since he's been here. Hardly anything right. So he needs to go. And if he goes, that probably is because Bortles is no longer here either. Now, that gets interesting because Bortles does have a heavy contract. It's going to be hard to move him in a trade because of the contract. So you might be looking at a very expensive backup quarterback or the Jags keep him and they draft a quarterback who they groom for a game or two before they decide to throw him in there. I don't know. That one is tough. That one is very tough. I'd like to hear y'all's thoughts on it, actually.
I mean, I think ideally what I'd like to see would be Marrone stays, Caldwell and Bortles are gone. But I don't think that's a possibility. I mean, I honestly think we're going to have all three of them next year. And nothing's going to change in that regard because of, like you said, I don't think Marrone should go. You don't cut a coach a year after going to the AFC Championship game, especially with how bad the Jags have been. I think Caldwell has absolutely outlived his contract. He has not made good decisions. He should be gone. He possibly will be, but that's going to require, I think, TC stepping into that role. And that's up to him. He's old. I don't know if he wants to do it or not. And Bortles, I mean, like you said, whatever, you know, I'm a big Bortles fan up until recently. I do think we should part ways with him, but at this point, I don't think we can. We're kind of tied to that. We might draft a rookie quarterback and kind of he sits behind Bortles for half a year, maybe a year, and then we go our separate ways at that point. But I honestly think all three of them are here next year, and it is what it is.
I'd like to read you guys something.
Please do.
Okay.
Hopefully it makes me feel better.
This is off of a message board, and I just want to read it to you guys. Honestly, at this point, I think this is something the players need to work out. There needs to be some sort of players-only meeting and get everyone on the same page. Coaching aside, the execution and effort has been absolutely atrocious. The leaders in the locker room need to step up and hold their teammates accountable. I can count on one hand how many players that I saw playing 60 minutes yesterday. We can talk about coaching or injuries or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's the players on the field that need to get it done. Do you know where that came from?
You.
The Philadelphia Eagles message board. The Philadelphia Eagles are in the exact same position that we are.
Yeah.
They won a Super Bowl last year, so that's obviously different.
Well,
but
barely.
Their quarterback has been underperforming. Their coach has been making terrible decisions, and their front office has made questionable moves. Now, the difference between us viewing our team the way the Eagles do is one game. If Bortles wins one more game, we may be looking at this entire thing completely different. So I think everyone's back next year. I think they're going to blame it on the injuries, and they may have a point. Bring in some more weapons around him, maybe draft a young quarterback. But I think they're going to give this group one more shot to prove that this was a fluke year, because you can have fluke years because of injuries. Like, look at the Eagles. I mean, they're having a fluke year. They're not playing well. So I'm not as mad this week as I was last week. I'm not. I was more mad about last week because
the Colts aren't good.
The Colts aren't good. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of factors in this game that killed. I mean, 10 penalties for 111 yards, and the Steelers had 3 penalties for 15. Like
a Miles Jack interception that was not an interception.
I mean, there was so many.
There was a lot.
I mean, I was more angry at the game, but I wasn't as angry at the team because the defense kind of played well, and the offense played well in the first half. The running game was there. We were the old Jaguars for a half last game. That's the first time I've seen that all year.
Then we were the old Jaguar, the real old Jaguars in the second half.
Exactly. But, you know, Can went down with an injury, and it made it really tough to run the ball in the second half. And we probably were too conservative, like we always are, but we've been saying that for months, that we're a conservative team, and that's what's going to happen. So to answer David's question, I think, like Joey said, we'll have the same 3 people there next year.
Here's my thing. And I get what you're saying about the Eagles being in the same position. They did win a Super Bowl last year, so they have that as well. Carson Wentz is coming off a torn ACL injury, which we've said on this show before that it takes a solid year for you to come back fully. So you have to give him that. The Jaguars, as a team, this may be a fluke year, but it is not a Blake Bortles fluke year. This is Blake Bortles. He had a fluke second half of the season last year. If you want to talk about flukes at quarterback, that was the fluke season, the second half of his season last year. Other than that, it is consistent across the board with how he has played. And so I think that all 3 probably do come back next year, but not because they should, but because they have to, because there's no other choice. They can't move Bortles because of his contract. And no GM is going to want to come in and let Bortles be the quarterback because they see how consistent he is in poor play. They're stuck. I think they're stuck. I will say this though. They had better at least get a new offensive coordinator, because someone has got to take the blame for this year. They cannot just shrug their shoulders and say, well, it was a wasted year. Let's just try again next year with all the same pieces and pretend like it didn't happen. Because it is happening painfully every single week. And it shouldn't be. Someone has to be to blame. And if you can't move Bortles and Caldwell isn't going anywhere, then someone had better. And the next person in line is Hackett. So he's got to go. We have a team set up right now that either has the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL or coaches who do not trust their quarterback whatsoever. So whichever one it is, something's got to change. So if you can't move Bortles, which you can't because Caldwell, again, screwed it up and gave him an extension when he shouldn't have. He did the same thing to Gus Bradley, by the way. Then you have to get rid of Hackett.
I'll start with that, and Jason, you can disagree with me immediately.
I'm sure I will.
I do agree. I think Hackett is hamstrung, but I don't necessarily think it's because of Bortles entirely. I mean, you look at that last game, our run blocking was good.
For a half. Our
pass blocking was atrocious, period. And we don't have any wide receivers. So if anybody's taking the blame, yes, it could be Hackett. He's probably going to be the fall guy for that, but I don't necessarily think that it's his fault 100%. I think that he doesn't trust Bortles a lot. I think he does in some circumstances, but when you look at it, man, you know, at the end of that game, we had 14 plays for like -9 yards. And before that though, he took 2 sacks and an incomplete pass because he didn't have any time. I mean, Bortles doesn't take sacks. He's not stupid like that. He can get out of the pocket. Like he can do what he needs to do to do whatever. So I don't think he trusted the offensive line more than I don't think he trusted Bortles. So
Bortles had more time than we think. I don't know if are you just talking about the first half or the second?
No, I'm talking about second half. Second half completely.
He had more time in the second half than we thought. The reason that he kept getting sacked is because he wouldn't get rid of the ball.
Because nobody was open.
There were guys
a couple times, man. But half times he throws
those couple times would have won the game.
Half times he throws them and they drop the ball. Or dude, it's not just Bortles.
He had 5 completions.
It's not just Bortles.
No, it's not. You're right.
Hackett's in like an incredibly tough place because he has a beat up offensive line that wasn't good to begin with. He's got a quarterback that's so either great or horrible, and he has wide receivers that can't catch the ball.
Yeah, and you know who that goes to? Dave Caldwell.
Agreed.
And I agree 100%. I really do. I would love to see Caldwell. I mean, I'd love to see Hackett be an offensive coordinator for a good quarterback. I would love to see that because I think he can be innovative. But you're right. But the thing is, someone's got to go. Yeah. In these situations, someone has to go. And I think it's going to be Hackett, which I'm kind of torn because I would like to see. I mean, there were some questionable calls in that they made even in the first half. I mean, they were 8 yards from field goal range at one point, and they went throw, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head. Went backwards and had to punt. You know, when they were running the ball effectively.
Bortles got sacked, and then
another sack, I think.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, they went backwards and had to punt.
It was on the 40-yard line. There was 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We were up by 10.
Yeah, I mean,
a field goal there would have won us the game.
Would have won the game.
That was the killer drive of the entire game to me.
I mean, like a 3rd and 5 at the end, you've got to be able to get 5 yards.
Yes,
there's got to be a play to where at least you have a chance of getting 5 yards. It's like the end of the Philly game. I mean, he did the same thing there. So
it was the AFC Championship game all over again. Yeah. It was the worst deja vu ever for a Jags fan.
Well, in that 3rd and 5 that you were talking about, Hackett called a read option, and Bortles made the wrong call. He handed it off, and he should have kept it. And they showed the angle, and if he would have kept it, he would have gotten the first down. So
without it, he would have gotten 30 yards.
Yeah, I'm just...
Baselli actually disagrees with you.
I watched that again. Baselli's wrong.
Yeah. He said he watched it 6 times.
Yeah, well, watch it 7th because he was wrong.
Fair enough.
I don't think Hackett is to blame. I like your point about someone has to be a fall guy, but how can you blame Hackett when Marrone is an offensive-minded head coach? Like every play call goes through his headset. They have daily meetings with each other about the game plan, plays to call, who to get involved, snap counts. It's not like Hackett's doing this all himself. And the bottom line is if Marrone gets fired, he's going to hire Hackett at his next job. Like, that's his guy. He's been everywhere he's been.
But Marrone's not getting fired. Does anybody think Marrone is getting fired?
I don't.
How can you blame Hackett? I'm
not saying I think it's Hackett's
I
fault.
think he's made some bad decisions, but like when Hackett's calling 31 straight pass plays, whose job is it to say, "Hey Nate, run it here"?
Well, that's
their own.
And that is the issue. I don't understand. They go from throwing it 31 times in a row or whatever it was to running it every play in the fourth quarter. What is it? At some point, you have to let your quarterback, or make your quarterback, I suppose, throw the ball. And he wasn't doing it. Again, I don't love some of the play calls that Hackett made. I really think of all the people we're talking about, he probably is the least to blame, but he's also the most expendable in all of this. The problem, everything goes back to Dave Caldwell. Poor offensive line. They drafted Taven Bryan and said, when we were all saying here that they need offensive line help or a tight end, they go defense. You know, they let Allen Robinson walk. They don't sign any wide receiver after Marquise Lee gets hurt. I mean, and here we are talking about no pass protection and no wide receivers. Come on. That then handcuffs Hackett, and it handcuffs Bortles, the guy that you signed an extension to that you said you were going to build the team around. And he's failed. He's failed at it. And I would love to see him go because he needs to go. But whether he does or not, I don't know. Because again, GMs want to bring in their own guys. And if we hire GM and he's going to want to get a new coach, draft a new quarterback, then we're talking about a rebuild. And then what do you do there? I mean, that's all sorts of dominoes fall.
Well, this question kind of goes to that. And y'all can answer it because this kind of goes what you just said. This is from the title Advance, and he's at TayVS_SD. He says, I hate a run-first offense that only throws when they are down in 2 minutes.
Preach.
What's the difference between Blake last year and this year?
I mean, that's the question of like the year, is it not? I mean, confidence is the number one thing. I mean, Blake does not feel confident right now, and why should he? He's got no outlet, no tight end that's like a stud. Marquise Lee is gone. He can't trust his wide receivers because they're completely up and down. And he's got an offensive coordinator and head coach that see the situation and don't trust for him to throw either. I mean, that last play of that game, like he handed it off and walked off the field because he knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
He knew it was not going to work. And he was pissed, and he should be. I mean, it's just a toxic situation all around.
Yeah, I mean, injuries is the easy answer, right?
Yeah.
And that does have a lot to do with it.
But I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, he looked like a completely different guy last year in the playoffs. Completely different guy. And there was moments where it's like, man, Blake is so inconsistent. But never have I seen a coaching staff just straight up give up on a guy. Like, they didn't even give him a chance to win the game. And when he did drop back, he just got sacked immediately. It's weird. Something weird is going on with the coaching staff.
It's almost like it was out of spite.
Yeah, or like intentional. Like, we're going to make this guy look as bad as possible.
We don't want him, and so here's what we think of him. Which, if there's internal things like that, again, that's bad news.
That's bad. Yeah. Well, this one's from Cole Marrone, and this kind of goes on the same line of thinking. He's at ColeGuy45. He says, fair to say Blake and the coaches need to go. Players had so many mind-numbing penalties, but the play calling really hurt my eyes, especially on the critical third down runs at the end. Running game was great, but we didn't leverage it to fool the defense at all.
He's right.
That's
no play action.
Absolutely right. I mean, my God, you have 9 guys in the box towards the end of the game. How do you not have something that over the top or through the middle to beat that? I mean, it was obvious. Everybody saw it. Pittsburgh wasn't even trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then that goes back to the argument: is it what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is this on Hackett or is this Bortles? And look, I think the original question, does Bortles need to go? I say yes. I mean, he does.
No, we all agree.
We've all seen. I feel like this week more than ever, because look, we all love Bortles. The Jaguars fan base has been rooting for Bortles so hard ever since he was drafted because we love him. He's a fighter. He's tough as nails. He always takes the blame. He's just a guy that you naturally want to root for. But I feel like that went away after the game against the Steelers.
No,
am I wrong?
No, I mean, I've been his biggest proponent the entire time on top of that. And I agree at this point, Bortles is not the quarterback for the Jaguars. He needs to go. We need to replace him. But there's just no options, man. I mean, it just isn't going to work. So we have to accept the fact that he is and fix the stuff around him to make him better. I mean, that's it. That's our choice.
Do you think he's this bad with a healthy offensive line and healthy receivers?
Absolutely not.
Do you think, and this is obviously...
He's never brought the team back for a win.
He's got 6.
Including last year.
He's got 6.
6 what?
Bring back from behinds. 6 game winnings.
None this year.
Okay, even 8, but none this year.
Yeah.
But point being is that Jason's right. I mean, you can't... Bortles is not the quarterback where you can have a hurt offensive line or where you can't have a go-to guy as a wide receiver or tight end. You got to have that for Bortles. I mean, he's not that quarterback, and that's what we knew going into it. But everything else around him is falling apart, so of course he's going to look worse. I mean, it's just the way it is.
But that doesn't work in the NFL. You can't say, man, if everyone stays healthy, I think Blake can be pretty good. Because no one stays healthy. Everyone gets hurt. And he, at some point, has got to play above that. And what we've seen, well, is 2 things. Either 1, he can't, or 2, the coaches don't think he can. And either way, that's a problem.
Again, I think that goes back to Caldwell because the league has changed. And lots of other GMs and teams saw that change and built their teams around that change. Unfortunately, the Jaguars didn't. They built a strong defense and a run game in a league that is now completely about no defense and nothing but scoring. He didn't see that. That's Caldwell. More than anything else, is he failed to see the change in the rules and he failed to see the change of how the NFL was going. And that's where we're at, man. We have a team that's built not to win in the league based on the rules, period. And what do we do about it?
He's yet to really bring in any competition whatsoever for Blake since he drafted him.
Yeah.
At all.
When at halftime, why wouldn't you put Kessler in? And even like just what was the game that Kessler came in and started lighting it up just because it was
Cowboys?
Why wouldn't you just do that? Because your offense was doing nothing that whole game. Blake was doing nothing. Your running game was doing everything. And why wouldn't you bring Kessler in to at least see if he can move the ball? Because in this game, all it took to win was being able to move the ball a couple times in the second half, and we couldn't do it. We had, I think, 4 third downs in the fourth quarter. 3 of them were longer than 3rd and 10 from penalties or loss of yards or sacks. And we didn't convert any of them. That's the NFL. If you cannot convert a 3rd down in the fourth quarter, you probably aren't going to win. Doesn't matter if you have a lead or not. You have to be able to convert 3rd downs in the fourth quarter. And you know Blake's not going to do it. Why wouldn't you bring in Kessler just to see if you can just to give a spark off the bench? Like, I was sitting there yelling. I mean, I'm still hoarse from the game, from how much I yelled. And waving my teal towel. And I just felt so just decimated at the end of the game. When the last play of the game, I had the Steelers fans just going crazy around me. It was awful. And I spent my money and my day, and I left feeling like that. And it just makes you reevaluate, like, am I too invested in this team? Like they're not making decisions they should make. And that's what makes you angry about the game is we're all sitting there knowing what we should be doing. And it seems like the only people out of the 90,000 that are in that stadium that aren't doing it what they should are the guys that are making the calls.
To that point, do the Jags announce today that Bortles will be starting against Buffalo this Sunday? Do you think it should be Kessler?
I mean, if you didn't start him if you didn't play him last game, then there's no point in starting him. I mean, what's the point?
But do you think they should?
There's really no point because now you're on the hook with Blake. You know, his value can't go any lower as far as trade value or for next year. So if you aren't going to try to win, which they weren't last week because they didn't put Kessler in, then there's no point in putting him in now because what are you going to do? Just win games for nothing?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, that's basically what
it doesn't because it's not all Blake. They don't trust the offensive line for pass blocking, and they don't trust wide receivers. So it doesn't really matter if you have Blake in there. It doesn't matter at all. So I mean, why not stick with Blake and run with it? I mean, throw Kessler in there. Who cares at this point? It doesn't matter.
I think it matters only from this standpoint. We said earlier we'd like to see what Hackett can do with a different quarterback. We said with a good quarterback.
With a good quarterback.
I'm not saying Kessler is. We don't know. But it would, I think, help you only in evaluation of the other players. it would allow you to at least see, look, is this all Bortles, or are there some things that we can do with these guys that Bortles simply can't do? That's the only reason. It's not about winning or losing. It's just about, to me, it's about player evaluation. I wouldn't have dreamed in a million years that they actually would have started Kessler against the Bills. I don't know why that was really even that newsworthy that they're starting Bortles, but they did. So I just thought throw that out there.
But again, I think that, yes, I think they would start Kessler if they truly wanted to evaluate the offensive line and the wide receivers, but I think they know what they have. And they don't have anything. So
there's no point.
Again, yeah, exactly. What does it matter? Bortles is tough. Bortles is going to run some plays. Kessler's not. It is what it is, man. Again.
Yep.
So we just got to ride with it.
We have a couple questions that are kind of all about the same thing, about Bortles and things like that. So if we didn't read your question, it's not because it wasn't good. It was just for the sake of conversation that we had a lot of the same questions. A lot of people want to know what we're going to do with Bortles. Are we going to drop him? And if Kessler will replace him. And
can you give the names of some of those just so we can shout out some thanks?
Yep. At Jonas Gessner had a great question. He actually asks, will we pick someone in the draft and start them as a rookie next year?
That's a good one.
Yeah, a wide receiver. Offensive lineman.
Yeah, so not a quarterback.
I don't think we take one and start him. I hope we do take one, but I don't see him starting either way.
Well, let's look at it like this, because I think that's a good question. If the season ended today, the Jaguars would be picking 8th in the draft. First would be the 49ers, who do not need a quarterback. I mean, they just paid a bunch of money to Jimmy G.
That's true.
Even though he is hurt right now.
Yeah.
Cardinals would be number 2. They don't need a quarterback. They have a whole lot of other things. They just traded up in this year's draft to get Josh Rosen. The Raiders are number 3. Now, that's an interesting one. I know they just won, but Carr and Gruden had a little spat on the sidelines. They're saying it's nothing and it's competitive, this or that. I don't buy it. I still think he's trade bait. That's just me. Jets at 4. They don't need a quarterback. Giants at 5 do. Bills at 6 don't. Bucks at 7 do. So that is 3 teams drafting ahead of the Jags at this point right now that are quarterback needy. Now, that's not that many. You know, the Jags could, in theory, trade up if they wanted to.
Do you really want the 4th quarterback, though?
No, I'm saying they could leapfrog. And I mean, look, the 49ers, if they end up with the first pick, they are sitting pretty to trade out of that one. You know.
Well, let me ask you this: would you trade a 2nd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo?
That is a good question.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the 49ers sitting there at 1, and they fall in love with a quarterback. I'm sure Jimmy G coming off an injury.
1,000%.
Well, I mean, can we afford him? That's 2 very expensive quarterbacks we have on the books.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well,
but if you put money aside, then I say yes.
Okay. And he may not be available, but it's not. It doesn't seem like it's totally improbable to think about him being traded if 49ers are picking number 1.
I think it's more realistic that Carr gets traded out of Oakland.
Yeah, I don't think Carr is worth as much as Garoppolo, though, even with
a torn ACL.
Off an ACL.
I mean, but Carr's a 3-time Pro Bowl quarterback.
And Jimmy G wasn't even doing that great before he got hurt. It's not like he was lighting the world on fire. No. He was pretty average when he was playing.
Maybe I'd have to give a second thought to that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough.
But I'm just saying there's opportunity for the Jags to draft a quarterback this year with their first overall pick.
I just feel like the quarterback draft class is so much better next year.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying Tua. I mean, there's all kind of guys that are coming out in 2020.
I don't think they do draft a quarterback first overall pick. I think if Bortles is back, and if y'all are right that Caldwell's back as well, and basically everyone returns, they're going to give him weapons. They're going to have to get a receiver or you don't draft a tight end in the top 10. Maybe an offensive lineman. I don't know. But I think they go wide receiver somewhere. I don't know who that is. I mean, is there just a stud wide receiver? I don't follow college and close enough
not
right
to
now.
that level. But I mean, I don't see how they don't go offensive line.
Yeah.
There's the Kentucky has I think a receiver that's really good. but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of a D end.
Well, we'll start getting more. We'll get into names later.
D end and a running back, I believe.
Yeah.
I think they're going to back out of the top 10. I still think the Jags are going to win 2 or 3 more games.
Oh, you mean okay?
Yeah.
They didn't even trade out.
No. Okay. I think they're going to win. They're going to win games out of the.
Yeah.
So to get them out of the top 10.
I think so too. But yeah, O-line and receiver, you got to address that.
I mean, there's definitely going to be some money freed up next year. I mean, Malik Jackson, he's not coming back. I mean, he didn't even play last game hardly. They didn't start him. I don't see him coming back. That's a big contract that disappears.
Church is gone.
Church is gone. That's another big contract. I do think they'd like to have Campbell and Darius back. But I think Campbell's going to come back at a discount. Maybe first and second down guy, and then you bring somebody. I mean, so they're going to free up a lot of money on defense that is going to free up money for offense. So
I don't know if Campbell comes back on a discount. I just
hope he does. I don't think he does either, but I hope he does.
I could see him going straight to New England, something like that.
I think he just plays it on his contract next year.
I think he likes it here, and
he's good.
He's good.
He's had a great year.
He plays his butt off, dude. I think he's one of the few guys on the team that he just is solid.
Yeah, can't say
anything about him at all. And I hope he comes back.
Listen to this is the bottom 5 PFF graded players on our defense. Okay, bottom 5.
Okay.
14th.
Just last week or overall for the year?
Just last week.
Okay.
14th, Malik Jackson played only 33 snaps.
Well, he didn't start.
No,
so
only
that was
played
interesting.
33 snaps.
Wow.
Out of Campbell played 62 for reference.
Okay.
15, Dwan Smoot played 15 snaps.
Fowler's replacement.
He should be one of the
He's
bottom
not. Actually, McCray is Fowler's replacement.
Oh.
I noticed that. Lorenzo McCray played a lot, and he played really well, actually. I was really surprised with him. He played...
Go Gator.
Yeah. He had an 80 grade, which is second highest on the team, only behind Jalen Ramsey. I noticed he was in the backfield a lot. So we talked about him in the preseason.
Absolutely.
That might have more to do with Dante leaving than we have talked about.
Are you alluding to think that you should be the new GM, Jason?
I could be a 100% times better GM than Dave Caldwell. And
I don't think he'd do any worse.
How could you?
For sure.
You could pick names out of a hat and you would be doing just as good as him. Okay, I digress.
Right.
Number 16, Avery Jones played 33 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Number 17, Telvin Smith Sr. played 65 snaps. And the lowest ranked player, regardless of having a sack, at number 18, is Yannick Ngakoue, playing 56 snaps.
Again, not a great year for him.
43 defensive grade, the lowest on the team.
I tell you what, he's starting to get on my nerves a little bit, I have to admit. One, because I thought he was going to do more, but...
So we were talking defensive player of the year before the season started.
A lot of people were. But you talk about guys that chirp.
Yeah.
Man,
yeah,
he was getting in Antonio Brown's face at halftime. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You haven't done anything all half.
Well, you want to talk about Telvin being on the bottom? I love Telvin, but I don't know if you saw the report. Like, Roethlisberger came out and said, I got pumped up in the fourth quarter solely because the Jaguars defense was talking so much crap. And he specifically said, I'm not going to name names, but number 50, after every interception I had, came up to me and yelled the fact that I had an interception. That motivated me.
Yeah. I mean, look, that I can accept, but what I don't like about Yannick is that he gets penalized for it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it seems like that happens every game where he gets a personal foul. I'm over that with him because you might get a sack, but that doesn't negate the 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that you average like almost one a game. And then you're chirping at Antonio Brown at halftime. Like, what are you doing talking to a receiver?
Yeah, or why piss off the guy who hasn't done anything? Well,
yeah.
Let him be. He's done nothing
like,
at that point.
You could read Antonio Brown's lips, and he's laughing at him, and he even looks at the ref and he goes, dude, all game. This is what he's doing all game. And what does that do? That makes the ref look at Yannick in the second half the whole time and puts a magnifying glass on him. Like, dude, grow up. He makes everything about him. You say that about Ramsey, but at least Ramsey backs it up. He's the best player in his position.
No. Okay, you want to go there? Let's go there. Because yes, he has backed it up last game. This season, he has not played well.
Yes, he has.
He was the 37th ranked.
Just because you don't get interceptions every game does not mean.
Dude,
you cannot rely. You cannot base everything.
He played
off PFF
horrible against the Colts.
One game
against the Colts.
That's the worst. The
Most
only
of the
bad
other games
he's had
10 yards
since
off
he's been a Jaguar.
So he can look better.
Who name one cornerback in the NFL you would rather have than him?
I didn't say that.
Okay, into discussion.
No, it's
Let's
not
move
into
on.
discussion.
Let's move on.
Okay,
it's not into discussion whatsoever.
Yes, it is.
It's
You
not.
can't say that
he can obviously play like he did last
my
week
gosh.
every single game. So why doesn't he?
He's the best.
Okay, great. Then why doesn't he
because
play
actually
that good
got
every
thrown
game?
the ball. People don't throw him the ball.
Stay away from him.
They stay away from him. He's the
Okay.
best cornerback in the NFL.
He has played.
You just admitted that.
I said I would not rather have another cornerback in the NFL.
Because translation,
Because of
he's the best cornerback in the
because of
NFL.
ability that he has, but let's see it every
Oh,
game,
come
dude.
on.
You want to talk all that
You-
trash?
he
Call
can't-
all those people
You
out.
can't get 2 picks every single game. They actually made.
didn't say
Did
2
you see
picks. I don't even
how
care
he
about
was
the
playing?
picks.
A lot of that is coaching too. We can't still talk about coaching without Wash too. He actually played press coverage,
So
which
you're
what you
telling
do
me that
every
you don't
single
think that
game.
he had more effort last game than he's had all season?
Of course he did, but what player doesn't do that? What player doesn't do that when they get called out? And he had a bad game, and so he wanted to make up for it. That's why. It's not
So
because
you
all
think
of a sudden
he's played like the best defensive back in the league all year?
Yes, without a doubt.
Jason?
He had one bad game.
I own a Jalen Ramsey jersey, Nike Vapor Elite.
Again, that's
so
why I
you're not
started
gonna
the
get me on
podcast
your
with
side.
that.
You're not going to get me
Yeah.
on your side.
I don't think
he's
he's
the
played-
best. I think he's one of the best athletes in the NFL.
I agree, but I don't
He-
think he's played to his ability
He is
this
the
year.
best corner. It's so impossible to go by stats with corners because if you're not thrown to, that means you had a great game. Because the guy is marked. He takes over a half of a field.
I'll be sure to have the how many times was he thrown against stat for next week.
Okay, please do.
Because I don't have no-
and I'll
don't
say
know off the
this:
top of my head.
he said it. We'll all say it. He had a bad game against Indy. That doesn't mean he's a bad player or had a bad season. He had a bad game.
I think he's had
But
a
if we can
decent
all
at best
agree,
season up
if we
to
can
this
all
point.
agree that he is the best player at his position in the NFL, we should not even be talking about
I'm
him.
not
It
disagreeing
still
with that.
boggles my mind that fans are even talking about Jalen Ramsey this season with everything else that is so terrible. The last person that we should be talking about is Jalen Ramsey. And with that, I'd like to move on.
You just said that we don't need somebody like Telvin Smith getting in the face of Antonio Brown.
Yes, no, because Telvin Smith is playing poorly all season.
I think
He is not the
Jalen's
best
played
player at his
decent
position.
at best all season.
But there's plenty of linebackers we would say are better than Telvin Smith in the NFL. As much as we love him, and we all
Sure.
do, you can't say that with Jalen Ramsey.
But dude, just saying you're the best but not playing to your ability is a problem.
Let's move on.
Okay,
This is
so
ridiculous.
speaking about Telvin Smith, there's questions from Turkey King, and he's at the Noah Bennett.
I like Turkey King.
And he
That's
says-
good
and
name.
this
changes his like tag every
He
That's a
day.
lot.
does. He does. And this is Turkey King has just hit me. Okay, so this is going to be our pop quiz. Not quite. Well, yeah, it's going to be our pop quiz. He says, "I just truly want to know how many penalties Telvin Smith has on the year." But before we do that,
Okay.
I'm just going to answer your question straight up, Turkey King. He's got 6. Got 6 penalties for 47 yards. Here's the pop quiz. Where do the Jaguars rank in total penalties? And then where do the Jaguars rank in penalty yards?
5th.
Feels like first.
Okay. So they're different.
Yeah.
So there's penalties, the flags thrown, and then there's penalty yards.
It's like a false start is 5 yards, pass interference 15.
All
Or
right.
it's a
So
spot
we'll
foul.
start with total penalties. Where do they rank in the league?
Okay, that's okay. When you put it like that, I will say total penalties, I don't know, middle of the pack, but total yards is probably up at the top because it's all PIs and personal fouls.
Roughing the passer.
Yeah, targeting, all
roughness.
that
So
stuff.
I need a number out of you.
For which one? Both?
We'll start with total penalties against.
Okay, I'll say 14.
Joey?
I'm going to go 10 and 5.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about the second one.
Yeah,
I'll
go
go 2.
Okay. Total penalties against with 70 flags thrown. They are number 12 in the
Okay.
league.
Wow, that's weird. Right in the middle.
And with yards against with 661, they're 6th.
Okay.
6th in the league. So it does feel like they get flagged more than anybody, but there are 5 teams that actually get flagged more. Coincidentally,
I wonder what those teams' records are.
Pittsburgh Steelers are number 1 total yards against.
Really?
Despite only having 15 against us last week.
Yeah.
That must have been the
number one,
first like 4
730.
games of the season where they played like absolute garbage.
Kansas City, 2nd with 679. Buffalo, 3rd with 672. And Washington and Green Bay, 4th and 5th with 667 and 665, respectively.
Yeah, but when I brought that up like 4 or 5 podcasts ago, I mean, you said you didn't care about that because that just meant they were playing hard.
I didn't say I cared about it. I was just doing a pop quiz. Turkey King was asking.
King.
Nicely done. Blame
I
it on
don't care
Turkey
about
King.
penalties. I mean, yeah, if you're going to cost us the game and kill us on drives, that's one thing. I mean, I'm cool with like legit penalties. Like if you actually rough the passer, I'll live with that because the passer gets roughed. But when you call roughing the passer and it's a standard tackle, or you call a legal contact leading with a helmet when you're just trying to make sure the guy doesn't fight for extra yards, that's where I get angry. And that's at the refs, not the players.
That first Campbell, like roughing the quarterback, was absolute garbage.
It was
absolute garbage.
That was pathetic.
You know, it's funny because the unique sack was more of a roughing the passer than that one.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it because it was an actual sack. I think Bortles Roethlisberger got rid of the ball when Campbell hit him.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the ball was like basically still in his hand when he was
and it's fun. They were talking. Campbell and Roethlisberger were talking at when they're like, shaking their heads at each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, this next question is from Travis D. Holmes, and he's at Trav Likes Bacon.
Who doesn't?
I like bacon too.
The question to you, Travis, is who doesn't like bacon? Okay. And he says, what's worse? One, that we'll have a low draft pick this year following up our first good season in a decade. Or two, that we have zero confidence that our GM will use the draft pick on a, quote, natural thrower of the football.
Preach.
End quote.
I'd say the latter.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, no confidence whatsoever.
Yeah, he will figure out a way to blow that.
There's got to be like a punter, right? That's going to be taking top 10, something like that.
In the interview room, again, I'm not saying, I am saying I'd be a better GM than Caldwell.
Yes.
But one of the first questions
at least the first round.
Well, I'd say it, yeah.
Overall?
Yeah.
He's kind of nailed the third round.
The only thing he does well is contracts, and I don't even know if he does that, so I'm just going to put that out there. But one of the first questions I would ask a quarterback, I'm thinking about drafting, is question number one. Do you consider yourself a natural thrower of the football?
Yeah.
If they say no,
well,
that should be a
define natural.
I mean, that is
define football.
That's a fantastic comment because Bortles is like, yeah, I'm not really a natural thrower of the football. How are you a pro quarterback then? I mean, that makes sense. I agree.
Yeah, so that would be my question.
He's right.
He is right, but at least lie about it. Yeah. I mean, like, of course I am. I'm a professional quarterback.
All right, this question is from XMSJSH, and he's at Vault Dweller 101. He says, did Miles Jack go low awkwardly and get run over because Ben is huge or because of the NFL rules have broken tacklers?
Was that on the last play of the scoring touchdown?
Yes.
I think he went low because Roethlisberger's huge and you have to tackle him low. You can't bring him down above the waist. It's just too hard.
I was pretty frustrated with the officiating, and if I'm a player, and that's probably in the back of my mind, like, I can't even tackle this guy. I mean, it's the last play of the game, though, and obviously they didn't care about penalties because they had the defensive holding or the face mask, whatever it was that was called, in the back of the end zone on the interception. But, yeah, I agree with you. But it's interesting to think about.
I mean, I think they had, before that play, didn't they have 2 defensive penalties in a row?
Yeah, well, I mean, they had the phantom face mask that never happened, and I mean, I don't think it happened. I was at the game, and it didn't look like it from the Jumbotron, but if you were watching on TV, you might have saw it or something.
It looked like a face mask.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that whole time I knew they were going to score on that drive.
It's just a matter of, it was just waiting for him to get in.
I had no confidence in the team at all. I mean, the offense couldn't move the ball, and everyone around me kept trying to say the refs and this, that, and I was like, we couldn't get a yard.
Yeah.
That's all I could say is we can't get a yard. We cannot get a yard. We can't win if we can't get a yard. That's the bottom line.
Back-to-back turnovers, we get 3 points. I mean, you don't deserve to win a game if that's what you're doing.
These are the 3 drives for the Jags in the fourth quarter in the game against the Steelers. 3 and out, minus 14 yards. 3 and out, minus 1 yard. 3 and out, gained 6 yards. That's your offense right there. The last three drives. Yeah.
And that last drive was 3 straight runs.
Yep.
So
right up the middle.
Yeah. And the first drive was a sack.
I think, was it 2 sacks? Or
2 sacks.
I think it was 2 sacks.
I know Fournette got like 5 yards on the first carry, and then I think he took a huge sack, and then they checked it down to.
Maybe it was just like a.
They checked it down to like Yeldon, and he got just like a couple yards.
Maybe that's what it was.
Something like that.
They went way backwards. When if they had just gotten a couple more yards, it would have been in field goal range. Would have been in Lambeau range.
I just don't get it. Like, that's the time you throw when you're on the 40 and you need a field goal to seal it. That's when you drop back and trust your offensive line.
And that's where you scratch your head at the play calling. And, to Hackett, I mean, there were instances where you're just, say what you want, but the timing of when they do certain things is just very bizarre. Very bizarre. So, there's
that's a great point because, in the first half, the play calling was pretty good. It was pretty diverse. Different plays, runs here, passes there, screens. Some naked bootlegs. In the second half, it's like none of that.
Mike Tomlin came out. I don't know if it was at the end of the first half or the start of the second half. They did those, the sideline interviews when the coaches come back out. And he said, his basics, what he said was, they can't score. As long as we stop the run, we're going to win. And if you remember, I don't remember if it was the first half or the second half. I think it was the beginning of the third quarter, actually. And the Jags, it's 4th and 2, and there's a holding penalty.
It was the end of the second.
Was it the end of the second?
He took the yards over
He took
the penalty.
the yards because he knew Bortles could not convert on a 3rd and long.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to play field position and gain 10 yards. And it worked.
And it worked.
They actually had a strip sack. And thank God the Jags actually recovered. Well, it doesn't matter actually now. But the Jags recovered and still punted. But, Romo and Nance were going crazy like, this is a huge gamble. Why would you do that? They're going to punt. Just take the ball. He takes the yards and it works out, and they gain like 20 or 30 yards over it because Tomlin was daring Bortles daring him to throw it, and he couldn't do it. That's if that's the opposing coach's mentality.
Embarrassing.
It is. It really is. We don't stand a chance.
Tomlin's not known for his like game management either.
No.
That's not his strong suit, and that's embarrassing.
Yeah, those are all solid points. What can you say? What can you say? It was bad. I was more angry at the Colts game, but I was just disappointed in this last one.
I think you were more angry in the Colts game because in your heart of hearts you knew the season was over then.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I hate the Colts more than almost any team in the league.
Really?
Like, I know you hate the Titans.
I do.
I hate the Colts.
Okay.
And I really hate Peyton Manning. And I've always hated Peyton Manning. And I think that has something to do with it a little bit. But
he
what about now? Don't you think he's kind of funny on those commercials?
He's funny.
It's hilarious.
But he's still just a dork. I just want him to fail at everything he does. And I just have this...
He's won.
Yeah,
he's won.
He has not failed.
There's a player.
He is the victor.
How everyone has a player they hate, and it's like, it's Peyton Manning's always been that person for me. Always. Who's it? From his days at Tennessee to...
Did Dave Caldwell ever play? Because he's my guy. That's true.
I don't think he did. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
He was the manager in college as well.
Well...
Are those all the Twitter questions?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll give any thoughts that we may have towards the Bills game. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
not that we have much, but we should at least talk about it.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back with another Jags podcast. We'll see you in a second. Welcome back to episode 44 of another Jags podcast. I think we vented a little bit and gotten most of our frustration out. It might take all of the entire offseason to get fully everything off of our chest. But we're going to move on because there is another game to be played, and it is this Sunday at Buffalo. Going to be a little chilly up there. Do we even know who the Bills' starting quarterback is for this week? Is it Derek Anderson? Still?
I don't think so. I think
it's not Peterman. He's off the team.
Yeah, he's off the team, but I don't think they kept Anderson, did they?
I have no idea. I could not tell you.
Does it really matter?
No, I guess it doesn't. And I can't believe I'm saying this.
Matt Barkley?
Matt Barkley.
Matt Barkley.
Yeah, he came in.
Yeah.
Wait. Yes, he did. Okay. Yeah. Colt McCoy played for Washington. That's right. Getting those two confused. So Matt Barkley.
Never even heard of him.
Never heard of Matt Barkley? Played at USC?
Yeah, that's West Coast, man.
What? Never heard of Matt Barkley.
If you're on the SEC, you don't exist.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, well, he's the quarterback for the Bills.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of him, sorry, it took me a second to wrap my head around that. That you
Chris
never heard of him.
Ivory.
Yeah, Chris Ivory.
The return of Chris Ivory.
Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
Is he still? Does he still want to play, or is he?
No, I don't think he's playing. Their receiver is Zay Jones.
Okay.
He's pretty good. He's a pretty good receiver.
Okay. They have a okay defense, don't they? I mean, LaShawn McCoy, is he still playing?
McCoy had a big game.
As of noon today, according to WKBW Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen in line to start versus the Jaguars.
Well, you heard it here. I don't know, first or second, maybe third, depending on when.
Outside of Buffalo, definitely first.
Yeah.
So
now, Joey, have you heard of Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, I have heard of.
Okay, just making sure.
So that's something.
Yeah, it is.
This is a great start to the season.
Yeah, and LaShawn McCoy is playing.
LaShawn McCoy had a big game 2 weeks ago. Have him on fantasy. Put up a lot.
Yeah.
The Bills have 3 linemen, 2 tight ends, and 2 receivers that would start for the Jaguars. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What is their record? Do they have 4 wins?
No.
3?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I mentioned them. Yeah, in the ahead of the Jags right now.
It's the same team, and we're playing in the cold.
Same team, yeah. At their house.
3-7.
Plus, their fans like break tables that are on fire and stuff with their backs.
They do.
They
We don't
put
do that.
41 on the Jets. How many do we put up on the Jets?
24.
Half that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
I know this is crazy, but I actually think the Jags are going to win this game. I really do. I think I just don't see Josh Allen beating them, especially coming back off an injury. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to pick the Jags at this point, but eventually they're not going to lose out. They're just not going to. I think this is one they win for whatever reason. I don't have a lot to back it up. I just think they're a better team. So I think they win.
I think the team pretty much quits at this point, but we win with like a field goal from Lambeau because it's the Bills.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to lose. So I'm just going to throw it out there right now. Yeah. I think their defense is actually not terrible, and our offense can't move the ball. I think Fournette had a great game.
He did look good. We didn't say much about that, but he looked solid.
Could he play better? I mean, like he could. Would that have changed the game? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, Jerry Hughes, Lorenzo Alexander, Micah Hyde, Matt Milano, Shaq Lawson.
What are these guys you graduated with or something? Who are we talking about here?
These are
it's the serving staff at Philly's finest, isn't it?
Flipping through his yearbook.
This is the Bills' highest rated defensive players on the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are actually football players and relevant to the conversation.
Yeah, there we go.
So watch out for those guys. All those guys I named are going to make your life miserable next week. So just...
Well, I mean, I think our lives are already miserable. So, I mean, would that really make it worse? No. I mean, the only thing we have going for us is it's really hard to lose 7 games in a row. I mean, come on now. Law of averages have to come into account at some point. The Bills are not good. I mean, I just hope we can pull something out. You don't want to lose to the Bills ever. I mean, maybe, we beat them in the playoffs last year and probably shouldn't. Maybe they'll come in fired up.
It's a totally different team.
Yeah, true.
You know if they have any of the same people from that team,
good
to
point.
be honest.
Well,
maybe LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we win, but it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be by probably a field goal. But who knows?
Is there anything, and be honest, is there anything in the back of your mind, like at this point in the season, that when the Jags lose, you're thinking, well, higher draft pick?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, why not?
It's not that you want them to lose, but when they lose, I mean, I don't think any of us are rooting for them to lose.
No, I would never root for them. I don't want them to tank the season. I hope they play as hard as they can and everybody shows up every game. But if they lose, at this point, I'm not all that upset.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to help us next year.
This isn't really a draft that I'm thinking about that with. It's not. I mean, there's no one even that I'm really like crazy about this year. Like there were so many guys in last year's draft that I would have loved to have on this team, but this year it's just kind of like, I mean, there's a couple of premier edge rushers. We're not going to draft one of those guys. There's a hand.
I don't know. They like drafting defense when we need offense.
Nick Bosa.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just, this draft isn't an exciting one. And we always seem to pick high in the non-exciting drafts, which is just our luck, but.
Yeah, like when Khalil Mack was drafted and Pat Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. We always picked really low. Oh, wait. No, we didn't. We just picked other people.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like, we didn't get the Andrew Luck year. We didn't get the Luck Mariota year. We didn't get the Winston year. We're always
Carson Wentz, Jared Goff.
right. So
Just missed out on them.
Isn't the UCF quarterback coming out this year?
I don't know if they go.
Can we go UCF? That guy's a baller against like crappy teams nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah.
Was it Milton?
Milton.
Yeah.
I mean, to watch the game.
I don't know. I think as the college football season ends and the mocks start coming, there's going to be players that surface. It happens every year. I don't follow college football enough to know the names, but once the mocks start coming, I start getting to familiarize.
Well, surely we can get a right guard. There's like 800 of those.
Yeah.
Available.
Listen to the quarterback rankings according to Walter Football. Number 1, Justin Herbert, Oregon. Number 2, Jarrett Stidham, Auburn. Number 3, Shea Patterson, Michigan. Number 4, Will Grier, West Virginia. Number 5, Jacob Eason, Washington.
Okay, first of all, Auburn's quarterback, was that before the season started? Because he's played horrible this year. Is there a date on that article?
Does it matter? I mean, do we really? Do y'all think they're going to draft a quarterback with their first pick?
I kind of think they need to, don't you? I mean, they're not going to get anybody. They're not going to get anybody in free agency unless it's something crazy that we.
Yeah.
Which has happened. I mean, they've made some moves, but I think you kind of got to. I'd love to see Grier on the team, man. I think that guy's a quality quarterback. You're laughing. You don't.
No, I do. I think he's a great quarterback. It's just funny because he went to Florida.
Yeah, for half a year.
I know.
He played great that half a year.
Yeah, he did. And he's played unbelievable for West Virginia.
I agree. It's just funny.
Glad I make you laugh, James.
According to Bleacher Report, mock draft number 8, Jacksonville Jaguars, Deontay Thompson, safety, Alabama.
Well, they'll need a safety. That's not a weapon for Blake.
Stupid.
That's not a weapon for Blake.
I mean, I'm never opposed to taking an Alabama player, but a safety?
Yeah. Well, they're saying that Church and Gibson will be gone. I think that's why.
Okay.
Maybe we should just draft an Alabama safety every year for the rest of our lives.
Maybe one of them can play quarterback. Two-way player.
All right, I think we're jumping into the mock draft too early.
I think so Jason, you have the Bills winning.
Yeah.
Joey and I have the Jags winning. We don't know why, but we just are, because why not?
Fool me.
I just think they're gonna.
Shame on me.
I think they're gonna win a couple more. I think they're gonna win 2 games in these last 6. I think so. I think this is one of them. I think they lose to the Dolphins. Probably lose Washington. Well, I don't know now with
quarterback
with Colt McCoy. We'll see. You never know. He could step up. He could step up. But I think 0-6 in the division is very good reality at this point. I'm not picking him to beat anybody in our division.
No. Definitely not.
Stellar year.
Which is unbelievable going into this season. That's really just baffling.
I think back to our discussions in the offseason, how jacked we were for this season.
And how wrong we were.
It's been a nightmare. It really has.
Yeah, it's been a big letdown for sure.
It has.
It happens in sports, though.
It does. And it really happens to the Jags. I mean.
It really does.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
We're good? All right, well, that wraps up episode 44 of another Jags podcast. We want to thank everyone that submitted Twitter questions. Y'all were the show tonight, and so we really appreciate that. Make sure to continue to give us your comments, your questions, any feedback. If we said something on an episode that you completely disagreed with, just make sure to tag Joey in that, and we'll respond. But we do appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast. So reach out to us. We want to continue to include you because this is a show for the fans, and it's by fans. We clearly don't know what we're talking about because we all thought the Jags were going to be good. But anyway, so did everybody else. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. We don't take a week off. We'll be here next week, win or lose, all season long. So let's rally around our team. I'm going to say this as we close. It's the week of Thanksgiving, and I will say that I am so thankful that we have a team that we can cheer for and we can cry over, where many cities in this country do not. So, win or lose.
It's well said.
I love that we have the Jags. I'm thankful for that.
That's a great bright point. I agree.
All right. Having said that, as always, go Jags.